What up? Salutations and all that jazz. This is Astro Dim here doing the daily moon reading for September 4th, 2018. Alright? Alright, so let's scale back to the beginning of September 4th, 2018. So this one's going to be a little bit long because we're in the third decade of Gemini. At least the moon is in the third decade of Gemini. And then in the middle of the day, it's going to be in the first decade of Cancer. So let's chat about that and see the effects that this is making. So when it's September 4th, 2018, 12 o'clock a.m. my time, which is Eastern Standard Time in the U.S., this moon will be in 25 degrees Gemini, okay? With that energy, it's the third decade of Gemini. The third decade of Gemini is Uranus. And so we are definitely communicating our emotions in a more logical and intellectual way. We're definitely thinking through our emotions in a logical way as well. But we're kind of going deeper into our uniqueness, what makes us tick, our authenticity and individuality, okay? And kind of searching through those, and connecting that with our emotions. Did our emotions make us this unique and make us think this way and talk this way? Or vice versa? Kind of like a chicken and the egg experience, okay? So that's what's going to be happening in the earlier part of the day. But if we, in the later part of the day, we'll be more Cancer moon-esque. And I'll talk about that later. But let me talk about the aspects of this moon first before I move forward, okay? So this moon is going to be almost exactly sextile to Mercury, which is in Leo, okay? So with that energy, what's basically happening here is that we are going to be talkative and communicative with our self-expression, but more, we're going to be talkative and communicative with our emotions, but more in a self-expressive way, more in a Leo way, expressing our creativity and our talents, and, really just being extremely self-expressive when we are, speaking on our emotions and the things that we feel deep down inside, which is actually positive, good, because the moon usually covers these things. So we're actually going to be very self-expressive. And we're going to learn through being self-expressive too, which is great, because our emotions are thinking one way, but how we are being, how we're thinking in general, and how we're communicating in general is thinking another. So it's quite interesting there. And, Mercury is going to be in the Mars decade of Leo. So it is going to be quite direct. And we're going to be quite assertive. And we're going to initiate our passions when we communicate and express our emotions. So that's lovely energy to have for sure. This moon's gonna actually gonna be exactly exactly trining Venus, which makes this even more lovely. Our emotions are getting really connected to our desires, what we really want. In particular, with our desires, is getting connected to relating to people. Now, Gemini moon is all about communicating, kind of shooting the shit with people, learning from people, sharing your thoughts and mind. And then, Libra, which is ruled by Gemini, represents relationships, beauty and love, yes, but kind of just relating to people on a one-on-one basis. So kind of like any one-on-one relationships that you have. And Venus makes this a little bit easier to go through. And so when it comes to our emotions, we're going to be okay with relating to people, talking to people, going our emotions in a more logical way for sure, but it's going to be easy to express on a one-on-one basis. And with that Mercury there, we're going to be quite self-expressive with it too, but still having passion, of course, in how we communicate, but being still very logical in the thought process of that. And we're going to be really in tuned with our desires. So dope ass energy right there for sure. Another thing that I peep too is that this moon is going to be... Oh, actually, that's all the aspects for this moon. Is it? No. Yeah, that's all the aspects I'm going to be talking about at least. Now let's actually move over to when the moon is in Cancer, right? Let's do that. So the moon, like towards the end of the day, the moon is going to be at around, the first decade of Cancer, basically. And the first decade of Cancer is ruled by the moon. And so we're going to be quite intellectual and intuitive in the beginning of the day. Not intuitive, quite intellectual and quite logical with our emotions at the beginning of the day. But then we're going to hit this break on which it's going to really make us more emotional. Less logical, more emotional. Because you can't just always be logical in your emotions. You're going to hit a break, and it's going to really reveal some things about your emotions and how you feel. And this break might be just a happy eureka moment, like yes, like you're overjoyed with emotions. Or what it can do is make you like cry, but it's a good cry that was needed. You get what I'm saying? So whether it's sad, happy, angry, whatever, you're going to be I can't think of the word, come with emotion. There, overcome. I don't know why I kept saying overcame, and why when I said overcome at first it sounded weird. Anywho, let's look at the aspects of how how the second half of the day is going to be for us. So with that energy, the moon will still be making some aspect to Mercury, maybe towards the middle of the day. And again, we are being self-expressive with our emotions, even in a logical way and also in a more emotional way. And so we'll be self-expressive in like explaining the intellectual side of our emotions. And then when we hit that point, we're going to be just as self-expressive with our emotions too. But the energy is still technically sextiling, which will be fine. You know what I mean? Which is actually makes things a little bit less difficult. But that's in the middle of the day. Like the moon runs fast, so after a while the aspect's going to run out and it's not going to be sextiling anymore. Another thing that's happening too is that this moon is actually going to be sextiling the sun. For sure. And because the sun's at 12 degrees Virgo. And so with that energy, it's basically saying that we are a light is going to be shining bright on not only how we our daily routines and our daily schedule and our everyday tasks that we do, but the emotions that are connected to those. You know what I mean? We're going to be trying to make changes in our everyday life, and it's connected to how we're feeling about certain things. And so we might have, the next few days might have some eureka moments on like, oh, I'm feeling this way. I don't want to feel this way no more. I need to change my everyday life to change that. And honestly, it's going to be today, the 4th, where we're going to be really feeling that the most. And then the rest of the Virgo season, we're going to be starting to implement the change, which is great. It's going to be good for us. In the middle of the day too, the moon is still going to be trining the Venus, right? Which is good because it's going to make the emotions less like all over the place. You know what I mean? And it's going to sweeten up the emotions. It's not going to be as difficult. But then the moon runs fast, so that is going to be running out of that aspect after a while, and try to head towards more of a semi-sextile or something like that. Not semi-sextile, excuse me, a square. So that's going to be something that we're going to be hitting in like the 5th and the 6th probably. Then the moon is going to be opposite Saturn. So that's definitely something to think about for sure. Deep down inside, we want to focus on our emotions and how we feel about certain aspects in our lives, our family lives, our home lives, our private lives. And but we have this sense of duty to uphold, to kind of be more not logical, be more practical on how we handle our status and reputation. And so we feel like emotions are not necessarily supposed to be something we should be considering at the moment. And so we might be pushing aside, especially with Saturn. It's not technically Saturn is actually trining the sun. So the main focus is going to be, be more on the practical side instead of focusing on our emotions. So that opposite is going to be a little bit difficult to be going through, especially with Saturn being retrograde. This is like, internally, we're going to be planning on how to build our status, reputation, and career, but internally we have these emotions that we want to express. You know what I mean? So even though you're going to be self-expressive, you're going to be focused on your emotions and how it's connected with your everyday life. You still feel like you have this sense of duty of trying to focus a little bit more on, your everyday life, your, not everyday life, your career, your reputation, and your status, And then, we have the moon actually square Chiron, which is another thing. And that's a little bit difficult. So we're going to, maybe a part of the things that we're focusing on is about our childhood traumas connected to our personality, our persona, our appearance, or first impressions. How as a child, how those things were ridiculed and how it really kind of cut us really, really deep, and how we want to kind of learn from the experience, grow from the experience, and let it go. So that might be the break. Us being self-expressive might lead to that break of like, oh, wow, that's something that I need to work on. And, you're going to be thinking about this on a more internal level or personal level since Chiron is retrograde. Lastly, with the moon sextiling Uranus, again, we're going to be really focusing more on our individuality, our uniqueness, our authenticity, and how that can change our lives for the better, how it's connected to our emotions. Should we let go of our uniqueness, or should we treasure it? Should we realize that this is a part of our self-worth and is a big part of our, should we use our uniqueness for our confidence booster? We're going to be really scanning through those things. And it's actually going to be working more in our favor, where we're going to be a little bit more accepting of ourselves. But it's a lot of this energy that we're focusing on and working on emotionally is going to be quite internal. But we are going to kind of talk to other folks, and it's like a situation is going to give a eureka moment, and we're going to just be working through those emotions on the later end of the day. Okay, so yeah, that's how September 4th is going to be. September 4th does sound a little crazy, but it's something that's necessary for our growth. Okay, so don't be too sad and don't be too scared. This is all going to work for the better, I promise. Okay, much love for y'all. If you're interested in a personal reading, check the description box below. I have my websites there, or my shop is there, and where you can find my podcast is there. You can support me on Patreon, all that stuff. Check in the description box for all my information. Okay, much love. Peace.